Baby, I come running, baby, I come running,
baby, come running.
Just keep me coming,
I
come running, 'cause I'm your dog,
baby,
I'm your dog, so whenever you call, I come running, baby, I come running, baby, I come running.
What's going on, family? This is Tariq Nasheed. Welcome to the Tariq Elite Radio Show. And I am broadcasting live out in Waikiki, Hawaii right now. And today is going to be a very quick show because I'm out here on vacation, but I do want to chop up game with the family. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a real quick commercial break, and I do mean real quick. And when I come back, we're going to get right into the ism right here on the Tariq Elite Radio Show.
Get ready to join New York Times best-selling author and critically acclaimed filmmaker Tariq Nasheed live on the Code of Conduct Lecture Tour this summer. Sunday, July 5th at the International House of Philadelphia in the city of Philadelphia. Saturday, July 5th at the Alliance Theater in Atlanta. And Saturday, July 18th at the Southfield Center in Detroit. Get tickets now at www.tariqlive.com. That's TARIQ live.com.
Hey, what's up? It's dating and life coach Mr. Locario. Go to badboymembership.com and master the dating game by joining my Bad Boy Membership program. In this program, you'll receive 45 through 90-minute, easy-to-follow, step-by-step dating advice tutorials that's guaranteed to help you attract, date, and have sex with beautiful women. Join the Bad Boy Membership today by going to badboymembership.com. That's badboymembership.com.
A system has been built for our people to practice group economics. Check out r-stones.com. r-stones.com is a network community for Black and African people to practice group economics. We are the rejected stones that all others refuse to build with. That's why the website is called r-stones.com. At r-stones.com, you can meet other people in your area or around the world to partner with and invest in businesses or real estate. Go to r-stones.com. Yo, check out my man Kevin Gentry and his website, BecomeRichFamousFast.com. Kevin has a one-on-one private school coaching website, and he will teach you everything you need to know about the game. And you can call him directly at 404-207-5640. Call Kevin up and he will teach you everything you need to know about being a true player and having real tight game. So check out BecomeRichFamousFast.com.
You are now tuning in to the King of Game, Tariq Elite on Tariq Elite Radio.
I am delivered.
Welcome back to the Tariq Elite Radio Show. This is Tariq Elite Nasheed, also known as King Flex, broadcasting live out here in Waikiki, Hawaii, doing the vacation thing, but I still want to chop it up with the family. And like I said earlier, today is going to be a quick show. I just want to touch on some things with the family. And don't forget, get the tickets to join me on the Code of Conduct Tour. I'm going to be in Philadelphia, Atlanta, and Detroit in a couple of weeks, so you guys don't want to miss that. Get your discount advance tickets at TariqLive.com, family. So, anyway, excuse some of the background music. I'm literally across the street from the beach right now. I'm chilling. I'm in a tank top. I got my ugly ass Croc shoes on that I was rocking on Instagram. F the haters. You feel me? So I'm lounging heavy. But anyway, I digress. Now, I'm not going to take no calls on today's show because I want to get to the point, family. Now, a lot of people are talking about the situation that's going on down in McKinney, Texas right now. That's the hot topic. And what I want to do, I want to talk about something that I talked about on the show, on my old show, the Mac Lessons Radio Show, which you can hear at maclessonsradio.com. And you can also check out those old pay-per-view specials at maclessons.com for those who have not listened to the old archive shows on the old site. But almost 10 years ago in 2006, I did a show called Sundown Towns. I did a whole show dedicated to a book that had just come out called Sundown Towns by a guy named James Lowen. A very deep book. And, excuse me, I've been warning people about these sundown towns for almost 10 years. This is verifiable. And I'm not saying this to get a pat on the back, but sometimes with the game, with the ism, you got to kind of wait on people to catch up. And I've warned people about sundown towns almost 10 years ago. So today's topic is Sundown Towns Part 2. This is an update of the show I did almost 10 years ago on Mac Lessons Radio. This is an update of that show because now we're seeing the ramifications of sundown towns. I'm talking, I think a damn bug flew in my mouth. Hold on. God damn. Sorry about that. I'm out here by the beach and there's gnats and shit. Hold on one second. I'm talking and a big ass juicy bug got in my mouth. I thought it was some damn papaya I had earlier. My bad, family. But like I said, I want to talk about Sundown Towns Part 2 because we need a refresher course on what the deal is. Now, for those who don't know what a sundown town is, historically, sundown towns were towns and cities all around America that had these restriction policies against black people being there after dark. Many of these cities around the country would put up signs, and this was before the 1960s, where they would be very blatant and open about not having black people in these cities and towns after 6 o'clock. They would have signs saying, hey, nigga, don't let the sun set down on you in such and such city. And many of these cities were not just in the South, but many of them were in northern cities. As a matter of fact, most of these sundown towns were in northern cities around the country and in western cities around the country, in towns. Like Glendale, California is a sundown town, or was a sundown town, but it still has those sundown policies, and they're all over the place. A lot of these places have that sundown policy. That's why black people have always had this thing about, the old school black folks had this thing about being home before the street light came on. And the reason why, because the street light came on at around 6 o'clock, and by 6 o'clock, black folks needed to be out of certain parts of town. And this has been, this goes back to the whole Jim Crow thing, but the sundown town rule, that still applies today. It's just been updated. And what they do, the white supremacists in these neighborhoods, after the 1960s, when it became illegal to have up a sign saying, hey, black folks, you can't be in this side of town after dark. As a matter of fact, there was one place in Illinois called Anna, Illinois, that had a bell. And the bell is still there, and the bell would ring at 6 o'clock every day to let the black people know that they had to get up out of town. Some real sick white supremacist bullshit. But that's part of the religion of white supremacy around this country. But after the 1960s, when it became illegal to do that, what the white supremacists would do, they would just have law enforcement do the dirty work for them. And they would have all of these homeowner association rules and bylaws that would restrict black people from coming in and out of these parts of town at night. Now, before the 1960s, if you were caught in some of these towns, the people in the neighborhood, they just lynch you. It would just be straight up and down like that. But after the 1960s, when you couldn't just flat out lynch brothers and sisters, they would have the police do the dirty work. So they would have police come in and harass black people, pull them over, cite them for, a tail light that wasn't on, that was really on, or a broken windshield or a crack in the windshield. Just some old random bullshit reason. They would harass black people for being in certain parts of town. And also what they would do, they created the gated communities as a way to sundown their towns. This is the situation that happened with Trayvon Martin. See, with Trayvon Martin, the whole reason why they got at him and the white supremacists justified Zimmerman killing him is because Trayvon Martin was not supposed to be in that area at night. That's what the white supremacists kept saying. They kept saying, well, he had the right to go home. When people said, what right did Trayvon Martin have? They said he had the right to go home. That's that sundown town mentality. So now let's fast forward to McKinney, Texas. Now, McKinney, Texas, for those who don't know, and by the way, the book Sundown Towns, you can get that. I've been promoting this book for almost 10 years. A white guy wrote this book. So as a white guy, he had access to all of these little places around the country that would tell him what the deal was. See, the thing is, they play these little games with black folks and talk in code when we come around, but they lift the code among each other. Sometimes they'll start talking real among each other. So people like James Lowen broke the code and told on the white supremacists, which is a major code breaker. You're never supposed to tell the trade secrets of the white supremacists. So shout out to James Lowen for being brave. I hope y'all don't hear this kid. Some kid is yelling behind me, some Asian kid. I don't know if he's doing karate. I hope he shuts the fuck up. I don't know how much of this stuff y'all can hear in the background. All right, there's a lot of noise going on. There's music and kids yelling all over the place, but I'm still trying to chop up game. I might need to give this motherfucker a graham cracker or something. Damn, I can't hear my damn self talking with this kid yelling in the back. But I digress. But like I was saying, James Lowen, he broke the code of the white supremacists by telling on them. Now, we fast forward to McKinney, Texas. Now, McKinney, Texas, for those who don't know, there was a situation where these kids, black and white teenagers, went to this pool. They had a pool party in this basically predominantly white neighborhood of McKinney, Texas. What happened was, according to white and black teenage eyewitnesses, some of the white adult females came out and started an argument with some of the black teenagers. One of the adult white women who was there, who lived in that neighborhood, actually slapped one of the teenage girls, and they got into a physical fight. And you can see part of that fight on YouTube videos where there's actually two women fighting this one girl, and they're trying to pull the girl off, and they're trying to break it up. So these two white women initiated a fight with these black teenagers. So what happened was, somebody in the neighborhood called the police. So the police showed up, and one police in particular named Eric Casebolt arrived on the scene on some TJ Hooker shit, where he's doing barrel rolls with his gun. He's running at top speed. He think he's in an episode of fucking Chips. He's just jumping and running all over the fucking place. Little short douchebag in full white supremacist mode. He's doing all the way the most. Now, some of the other officers were pretty cool. They were, low key. They were kind of talking to the kids, seeing what was going on. But this Casebolt dude, this was his moment to shine in all of his little suspected white supremacist glory. This was his moment. This was the little race soldier pretending to be a cop, using this as an opportunity to go in. So he's running around doing barrel rolls, jumping all over the place, cursing out all the black kids. He's literally knocking white kids out the way to get to black teenagers, to make them sit down. He's handcuffing the black teens. He got one black girl and pulled her by her hair. He threw her on the ground. It was real crazy. For those who don't know, this has been all over the news. It's been a very hot topic. So he's doing all of this extra Walker, Texas Ranger nonsense. It's being filmed by a 15-year-old white kid named Brandon Brooks. Now, Brandon Brooks, he's not saying anything to Brandon Brooks. Brandon Brooks, he's the white kid following the cop, filming all this shit, and he's not saying one word to Brandon Brooks. As a matter of fact, as Brandon Brooks has done interviews saying that, hell, I felt invisible. The kid is admitting that, hey, I was filming the whole thing and nobody said anything to me, but all my friends were getting gaffled up and pushed around and knocked to the ground and handcuffed, and I just felt invisible. So that was very telling for him to say that, and I get on that in a minute. So it was clearly racially motivated. The white teenager, Brandon Brooks, said, hey, this was racially motivated. All the people there were saying this is racially motivated. You could look at the video and tell that it was racially motivated. You saw this white cop running up to all of the black kids, cursing them out, pushing them around, smacking them up. and totally ignoring the white kids. This is on video. And he was gaffling the girl was not 14, she was actually 15. He was gaffling her up, pulled her down. He was sitting on her back. She's crying, oh, I got to call my mom. It was real sad, very despicable. So after the video came out, there was immediate backlash. Many of the white supremacist news sources and many of the white supremacists online, they tried their best to justify it, but this one you couldn't really justify. The pressure and the backlash on that town to allow that to happen, it was too great. So in a day or so, this Casebolt dude, he resigned. He resigned from the force. They allowed him to resign because they knew that the shit was going to hit the fan. The lawsuits were coming. And then the chief of police in McKinney came out in a press conference repudiating Casebolt. He was saying, hey, this guy, what he did was indefensible. He wasn't doing police work. We can't defend what he did. All the other officers did their job. So the other police officers had to distance themselves from him. But in a way, they still protected him because now he gets his pension and he can get a job somewhere else because he technically didn't get fired. So the white supremacists, again, they look out for each other low key. They distance themselves from certain people, but they still look out for them low key. And like the old saying goes, white people don't get fired, they just get transferred. That Casebolt dude is going to show up at somebody else's police force. I can almost guarantee it. And he's going to be a millionaire within a month or so because all the other white supremacists around the country, they're going to gather around and try to support this guy financially. They keep trying to put up GoFundMe pages for this guy, but they keep having the GoFundMe pages taken down. But the thing is, the thing we keep overlooking, and I did my Sunday's Ustream show last week, and a lot of people from that area were calling in talking about the racism in that city, in McKinney. They get people out there in Dallas, Fort Worth. Everybody keeps talking about how racist that town is. As a matter of fact, that town of McKinney was sued for housing discrimination against black people a few years ago. So this city has a history of being discriminatory towards black people. As a matter of fact, one of the white ladies who attacked one of the black teens said to the black teen, get out of our pool and go back to your Section 8 pool. So it was a whole racial motivated thing. And speaking of that, one of the ladies who said that, she worked at Bank of America, and people have been getting on Bank of America. People have been talking about boycotting Bank of America. Bank of America tried to distance themselves from her by saying, well, she worked for a branch that's outsourced by Bank of America called CoreLogic, some kind of company. But this woman has several pages saying that she works directly for Bank of America. So Bank of America, we're looking at your real funny style right about now. And I got an account with Bank of America, and I'm thinking about taking all of my paper up out of there when I get back to LA. Because the Bank of America, they have a history of doing little white supremacist type bullshit. And we're going to have to start letting these people know you're not going to get our paper if you're going to support white supremacy, Bank of America. And this woman does home loans. So how many black people have been denied home loans because of this woman directly, because of her little white supremacist views? How many black people who tried to get business loans or home loans, you had to go through this damn Nazi and not be able to get your home loan or your business loan, and you had to suffer because this woman is a white supremacist talking about somebody needs to go back to their Section 8 home. See, this is how white supremacy works. See, the white supremacists are not people walking around with sheets and neo-Nazi signs. They're the people sitting up at the home loan organization or the bank loan place or the homeowners association. These are the white supremacists. And that's what we have to understand, how systematic this thing is. And we have to understand that McKinney is nothing more than a sundown town. Nothing more, nothing less. The reason why all this stuff went down is because they're trying to criminalize all the black kids. They're trying to justify. Even after all of the police chief, they've come out against Eric Casebolt. All of the white kids who were there came out against Casebolt saying it was racially motivated, but you still have the right-wing white supremacists, and not just right-wing. You have left-wing white supremacists too, but all of the white supremacists are trying to still justify the actions of Case Bolt. And you can't justify the actions. The problem is the fact that those black kids were there, period, that was the crime in their mind. That's what they don't want to say. They keep trying to blame this whole swimming pool party, talking about, well, the homeowner association only allows 2 passes per person and all of this nonsense. Look, if you were white, you can bring anybody in there you want. Let's just be real. If you are white, you can bring in anybody you want. The fact of the matter is, if there's 6 or more black people, the white supremacists always go on alert. And that's what happened. They all went on alert because if you notice, nobody's talking about those other non-black kids who were there. Nobody's complaining about them. And this is why it was racial, because we saw on video that none of the white kids were targeted by these cops or some of these homeowner association people. There were white kids in the mix. See, that's the thing that they can't wriggle out of. See, what happened was the white kids broke the white supremacist code and told the truth for a change. And that's what we need more of. And I talk to black people about this a lot. We need to get some of these so-called liberal white folks or some of these white friends who want to hang and all that. We need them to be the whistleblowers. We need them to stop talking in code. And I've said this a million times. Start telling us what the white supremacists are saying and start telling on the other white supremacists. Because it has a lot of validity when you do it. I have white people and white sisters and brothers all the time. Hey, Tariq, I want to help. What can I do? I tell them, you need to be a whistleblower. You need to infiltrate the white supremacist circles and blow the whistle on them. That's exactly what you can do. If you can't do that, you're just kind of bullshitting around. I don't need you to go to Africa and pet people with malaria or go down to Haiti and give people some corn on the cob and then leave and all that old stupid shit. That's cosmetic. We need you to do some real sacrificial work if you want to replace the system of white supremacy with a system of justice. But the problem was McKinney is nothing more than a sundown town. It's a sundown town. The black folks were not supposed to be there, period. That's what they don't want to say. They keep almost saying that, but that's what they don't want to go ahead and say. Those black kids shouldn't have been there, period. They're trying their best to criminalize them, but they can't do it. They went to that little pool party. They tried to make up some story how they jumped the fence and confronted some security guard and all this old stuff. They're making up these little cockamamie stories, but these kids just went to a pool party, nothing more, nothing less. They didn't harm anybody. They weren't vandalizing anybody. And they had this crazy little white supremacist race soldier pretending to be a cop running around there trying to gapple up people. And those white supremacists in that neighborhood are still supporting him, saying he did the right thing. Because they support sundown policies in that town. Black folks were not supposed to be there. Some of these towns don't even wait to sundown. They don't want you there, period. If it's 6 or more of you, see, that's the rule. You got to understand the rules of these towns. The rule of a sundown town, they got 3 basic rules about black people being there. One black person, you can be there if you're a maid or a butler or you're cutting the grass or you're doing some kind of work for somebody, but you just got to leave at 6. Got it? Or if you're a black person there, if it's 5 or 6 or more of you, you shouldn't be there at all because, again, the white supremacists get on alert when they see a number of black people. And number 3, they never, ever, ever, ever want you in their swimming pools. The white supremacists are very funny style about black people being in their swimming pools. They've been like that for a long time. Those swimming pool rules, they will drain a swimming pool if they found out some Negroes swam in it. That Dorothy Dandridge movie with Halle Berry, go look at that movie. I think there's a scene in that movie where Halle Berry, I think Halle Berry played her, and she was at a hotel. In the movie, the setting is in the 1940s and 50s, and the setting was that Dorothy Dandridge swam at a hotel swimming pool, and some white supremacists there complained. So the hotel had to apologize to the white guest, and then they had to say, okay, we're going to drain the pool immediately. So that's how sick these white supremacists are. They're a real funny style about black people swimming with them. That's been a real big taboo with the white supremacists. Back in the 1950s and 60s, when they were trying to integrate schools and swimming pools, white supremacists would go out and pour acid in the swimming water when black people got in. They would have colored day and white day and all this old stuff for swimming pools. So they've always been real funny style about their swimming pools, because swimming, that's a very intimate thing. People are half naked. You got the water splashing on each other. You're in the same proximity. You're in the same boat, so to speak. So psychologically, the white supremacists, they have to be above you. And if you're having a recreational moment with the white supremacists, well, they don't feel so supreme. You understand how the white supremacists think? The white supremacists, they get off on being in a situation that's superior to people who are black. They get off on being in a situation or a social setting where they can do things that black people are not allowed to do. That's the great thing about being a white supremacist. We get certain privileges that the Negroes can't get. So we like the privilege of swimming and recreation. So what fun is it to have recreation and swim, and you got a Negro here swimming with me? Now, I don't feel supreme no more. That's the sick mindset of a white supremacist. So you got to understand how these people operate. It's illogical, but they don't want to say these things outright. Now, they used to say it outright back before the 1970s. And they say it behind closed doors, but they have to try to talk in code. And that's why it seems confusing to a lot of black people, because they talk in these codes. But again, McKinney is nothing more than a sundown town, and they were enforcing a sundown rule. Now, the white supremacists, they're doing their best to try to criminalize these poor, innocent kids who are out there, these black kids. Now they're trying to criminalize the black girl who got assaulted by Case Bolt. I know some of the people on Fox News were talking about she's no angel and she's this and those rowdy teens. And these teens didn't do anything wrong. To try to justify teenagers getting smacked up and guns pulled on them. This Case Bolt dude, pulled a gun out on these innocent, unarmed teenagers. It was some real sick Nazi shit that was going on. And the world saw it. And I was tweeting about this when it first happened. And the BBC contacted me. They wanted me to do an interview, and I was going in. They called me, and I did an interview with the BBC. Because the international press, they immediately called me. And I was giving that work. I was calling the dude a race soldier. I was saying, hey, this is some Nazi. I was using all the keywords that we need to use when we have to deal with these race soldier white supremacists. I said white supremacists about 5 times on there. I have to call it what it is. I was giving them that work. And we got to stop being afraid to call it what it is. But the thing is, they're trying to criminalize these kids, trying to say that they deserve to get gavelled up like that. And it was very interesting how when black kids are in situations, they deserve to get manhandled by the cops. They deserve to get guns pulled on them when it's 14 and 15-year-old black kids. But who was that white dude, that Duggar guy who molested all of his sisters? This dude molested half his damn family. That 19 kids and counting dude. Whatever, I don't watch these bullshit shows. But that Duggar dude, y'all know who he is. They've been talking about that child molester dude, and they've been trying to justify him molesting kids because he was 14 when he did it. See, when he done molested kids at 14, and they're like, oh, he didn't know what he was doing. Oh, we need to give him a pass. We need to forgive him because this asshole molested kids when he was 14. That's what they say. He probably did it when he was older. But the whole narrative about him is different when they speak about people in the dominant society. And with us, they criminalize us at any cost. So we have to look at that, and we have to stop falling for the okie doke. And the thing is, with this cop out here that was running around gaffling people up, see the people on Fox and all these people try to justify it by saying, well, those black kids were not following orders. They were not following directions. I've seen that tape, the video of, okay, I got a siren going past me. But I've seen the video several times, and one thing I noticed, this race soldier, Eric Casebolt, he kept giving conflicting orders. At one moment, he would say, y'all sit down. Then he would say in the next breath, y'all get out of here. Sit down. Get out of here. Shut up. Sit down. Get out of here. So he was all over the place, and the kids were clearly confused. Excuse me, guys. So the kids were confused. This guy he was sit down, get out of here, sit down, get out of here. So nobody really knew what to do. They didn't know what to do with this asshole running around, jumping at people and cursing people. They didn't know what to do, and he's pulling the gun out. Nobody knew what the fuck to do. He would say, get out of here. Then he pulled the gun, they run. Why'd you run? Then one brother got arrested for running. So again, when it comes to black people, they make the rules up as they go along, and then they blame us for breaking these arbitrary rules that they make up as they go along. That dude, Casebolt, was making up the rules as he went along. That's why he had to resign, because the lawyer can look at that tape and break it down. He don't have a chance in court, and they know it. That's why the police force had to distance themselves from him, because they can't say that those kids weren't following orders. That dude gave about 3 or 4 different conflicting orders, and a lawyer is going to eat that up, and they should. I know they got a bunch of civil cases in the pipeline, and that's good. They need to drain that city. And I know there's been a lot of protest out there today. That's good. People are bringing attention to the game. But we need to be aware of these sundown towns out here. And shout out to that kid, Brandon Brooks. Now, I was looking at some of the white supremacist websites like Stormfront and all that, and they're like calling him a race traitor. They were like, oh, he's a wigger. So keep your head up, Brandon Brooks, and some of our other white brothers and sisters out there who want to do the right thing. Don't be afraid to break the code and tell the truth, because the system of justice is much better than the system of white supremacy. And with this Brandon Brooks dude, he's a young guy. He's 15 years old, so a lot of young kids are in that rebellious stage. And they rebel for right reasons. He's rebelling against systematic white supremacy to a certain degree, and he's going for justice. He did the right thing. He told the truth. He didn't fall for the white supremacist code. And I'm glad he was a young guy who still has that rebellious honor system thing going. Because a lot of young people are very honest about things, and all he did was tell the truth. He did what a lot of white people will not do. When they see racial injustice, they won't own up to it being racial. He did something that a lot of white people need to do. He said, yes, it was racial. Yes, I do think it was racial. And that was very crucial to this whole situation. That's really why this situation went down the way it did. That's why Casebolt was let go, or they made him resign. That's really why, because now you had a lot of the white kids there saying that it was racial. Because, see, the white supremacists, what happened, they tried to wheel out a couple of coons. They found some coon who live out there in McKinney, some coon-ass nigga who's out here trying to promote his bullshit radio show that don't nobody know of. He's out there, well, I don't think it's racial. Nobody gives a fuck about what he thinks. That shit fell on flat ears. Nobody fell for that okie doke. They've been wheeling that same nigga around. I'm not going to even say his name. Some unknown slave-looking coon out here talking about, I don't think it was racial. I was out there. And I don't think he was nowhere near the scene. He just probably happened to live somewhere near that area, but he wasn't out there, I don't think. But they've been wheeling him out on Fox News. You know, they get the coon train rolling, and that didn't work this time. Nobody was falling for the coon train this time. And shout out to Roland Martin. Shout out to Roland Martin. Shout out to D.L. Hughley and other people. We've been calling out some of these white feminist organizations for not speaking out against situations like this. Y'all know me. I've been calling out these white feminist organizations for years for keeping silent when black women get abused and beat up by cops. I've been going in on these people for years, and now black people are waking up, and they're starting to see the picture, and they're starting to call these people to the fire. And shout out to Roland Martin from TV One. He said, hey, how come some of these white feminist organizations ain't saying nothing about this black girl, a child, getting her ass whooped by this cop. This cop sitting on her back. Where are these white women groups? And reluctantly, now the National Organization of Women, they put out a press release saying, okay, well, the cop was wrong and racism is bad and the cop need to pay. So they reluctantly stood up and put out a press release. Now, they could do more, but they put out a press release to say, hey, we did something. But we made them do that, by the way. So shout out to all the brothers and sisters out there who put the fire under their asses. We need to do more of that. And another thing, out there in McKinney, you notice how all the white vigilantes were allowed to assist the cops? Notice how they were allowed to assist the police officers out there gaffling up those black students. There was one fat suspected white supremacist out there in a tan shirt. We're trying to find out his name. Some people said his name was Skip Davis or something, but that might not be Skip Davis. That might not be his name based on my research. So people are still trying to find out his name. Why was this guy allowed to sit up here and assist cops? See, black people got to be very careful because, see, these white supremacist race soldiers who are posing as cops, they're allowing these white vigilantes to assist them. And what they're going to do is start deputizing some of these people because they're going to start having these open carry laws and they're going to allow these vigilante groups to start targeting black folks. So black people need to get real savvy about protecting themselves out here in the game because it's about to get real heavy. But the thing is, we put up some stories on melanoidnation.org of other former cops who were white talking about the racism in the McKinney Police Department. Go to melanoidnation.org. We've been running all types of stories. We also pointed out, we ran a story about how Eric Casebolt had a racial discrimination case against him before. He was sued for racial bias by another black man some years ago. So this Casebolt dude has a history of targeting people based on race. We put all that up on melanoidnation.org. So he knew his goose was cooked. You know, he didn't stand a chance. It was going to go down. So, you know, the white supremacists, they had to reposition him very, very quickly. So the thing is, we got to understand this, black people, melanoid folks. We don't want to celebrate too much right now because our thing is we get a little victory going on. The guy got fired. And also there was a teacher down in Miami who's, I guess he's supposed to be Hispanic or whatever, a white Hispanic teacher down in Miami who put on his Facebook that he supported what the officers did to those kids, saying that the kids deserved it, and he supported the actions of Eric Casebolt for gaffling up the kids. And this white Hispanic guy happened to be a principal at a school in Miami that's 85% black. I think it might even be 99% black, but it's a predominantly black school that this white Hispanic is supposed to be the principal of, and he's saying this stuff about how these black kids deserve to get gaffled like that. So they didn't fire him. They reassigned him again. With these suspected white supremacists, they never get fired. They only get reassigned and repositioned. They only get transferred. So we need to find out where he's getting transferred and give them that work too. That's the thing. Don't let these little white supremacists play hot potato. And another thing, the lady from the who got in a fight initially with the black girl, the white lady, her name is Tracy something. I can't think of her name right now. But that's the one who worked for Bank of America. Now, from what I understand, she's from where I'm from. She's from Simi Valley, California. Now, for those who don't know about Simi Valley, California, my Los Angeles people know about Simi Valley, California. Simi Valley, California is a little white supremacist rest haven. That's where, in the Rodney King case, instead of having the case in downtown Los Angeles, they took that case out to Simi Valley, and those jurors out there in Simi Valley acquitted all of those cops for beating Rodney King's ass because they knew that Simi Valley was a white supremacist rest haven. And that's where she's from. So that gives you an idea of her mentality. That Sundown mentality. They know, the white supremacists know who the other white supremacists are. So the thing is, we got to understand let's not celebrate too soon, because the white supremacists, they don't like taking L's. So with this Eric Caspo situation, the white supremacists took an L on that one. But trust and believe, they're at the drawing board right now, coming up with ways and solutions to make sure that this don't happen again. So they're working overtime behind the scenes right now, trying to tighten up the cracks here so this won't happen. So we got to get on the ball, and we got to not celebrate and not have our little victory laps. We got to tighten up our situation and get that melanoid empowerment going on, family, and start strategizing and continuing to be on that path of melanoid empowerment. And we need to get that code of conduct too, like these white supremacists have a code of conduct against us, family. Anyway, y'all, that's been today's episode of the Tariq Elite Radio Show. Don't forget, family, get tickets right now to join me live on tour, the Code of Conduct Tour, and that's what I'm going to talk about, some of the Code of Conduct rules that we need to abide by. We're going to have a very good discussion on this tour. I'm going to be in Philadelphia, July 5th, that's Sunday, the 4th of July weekend. I'm going to be in Atlanta at the Alliance Theater, real nice theater in Atlanta, on Saturday, July 11th. So everybody, if you're in Alabama, if you're in Memphis, if you're in Florida, come on up to Atlanta. There's going to be plenty of room, nice big theater. The game is going to be heavy. I want to talk with the family. You get a chance to chop up game with me, man. We're going to have a ball in Atlanta. And Detroit. I'll be in Detroit on July 18th. Y'all better get y'all tickets now. From what I understand, the Detroit lecture is almost sold out. So Detroit, get your tickets. If you're in Chicago, come on over to Detroit. If you're in Minnesota, come on over to Detroit. If you're in Canada, come on down to Detroit. The game is going to be heavy on the 18th. Get your tickets at TariqLive.com, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget to go to TariqElite.com to get all that fresh gear. Anyway, y'all, let me get me a little dip in the pool before I get back to the room. I'm going to holla melanoid power.